They left her to die because she carried 2 lives instead of 1. In the scorching wasteland of Wyoming, a young woman bleeds into the sand, abandoned by the very family that vowed to protect her. Her crime giving birth to twin boys, heirs, who would split an inheritance, a blessing deemed a curse. But in her darkest moment, when death circles close, a shadow appears on the horizon. Not salvation from her own kind, but from the one they taught her to fear. Stay with me until the end, and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Sarah's story travels across this world. The heat was wrong. Sarah Reynolds had lived through 3 Wyoming summers, but this heat was different, alive and hostile, pressing against her chest like a physical weight. She lay on her side in the red dirt, one hand clutched around her swollen belly, the other digging fingernails into the earth as another contraction ripped through her body. The wagon was 20 feet away, broken axle, torn canvas flapping in the wind like a surrender flag. Empty. They'd taken everything. The water barrels, the dried meat, her husband's rifle, even the wool blanket his mother had sewn, left her with nothing but the thin cotton dress on her back and a rusted knife that had fallen from the supply box when they'd hurried to leave. Please, she'd begged as Jeremiah's brother Marcus had climbed onto the driver's seat of the second wagon. Please don't do this. Marcus hadn't even looked at her. He'd stared straight ahead, jaw set like stone. But Jeremiah's mother, Sarah Reynolds, with her tight gray bun and eyes like chips of ice, she'd looked right at Sarah and said, "You've cursed this family. 2 boys means 2 claimants to 1 inheritance. The Reynolds land stays whole, or it means nothing." "They're your grandsons," Sarah had whispered, tears streaming down her face. "They're a mistake," Catherine had replied, "and so were you." The whip had cracked, the horses had lurched forward, and Jeremiah, her husband of 14 months, the man who'd promised to love her until death, hadn't said a single word. He'd sat beside his brother, shoulders hunched, and let them take him away from her. That was 6 hours ago, maybe 7. Time moved strangely when you were dying. Sarah rolled onto her back and stared at the sky. Cloudless, merciless. The same blue that had seemed so beautiful when she'd first arrived in Wyoming territory, full of dreams about building a life in a new land. She'd been 17 then, an orphan from Ohio with nothing but youth and hope. Jeremiah had seemed kind. His family had seemed respectable. She'd learned too late that respectability was just another word for cruelty dressed in Sunday clothes. Another contraction seized her, and this time she couldn't stop the scream. It tore from her throat, raw and animal, echoing across the empty Badlands. Her water had broken an hour ago, soaking through her dress and mixing with the blood that wouldn't stop coming. Too much blood. She knew it even without medical training. Women whispered about births gone wrong, about bleeding that wouldn't stop, about babies who came too fast or too slow, about women who died alone. "Not yet," she gasped to the sky, to God, to anyone who might be listening. "Please, not yet. Let me see them. Just let me see their faces." The babies kicked inside her, 2 distinct rhythms, like dueling heartbeats. They were strong. She could feel their strength, even as her own faded. They wanted to live. They were fighting to live. She had to fight too. Sarah dragged herself toward the wagon, inch by agonizing inch. Her dress caught on sagebrush and tore. Her palms scraped across rocks. The sun hammered down on her back, stealing what little moisture remained in her body. By the time she reached the wagon's shadow, her vision was blurring at the edges. But she'd made it. Small victory. She pulled herself up against the broken wheel and looked around with desperate focus. What did she have? What could she use? The knife, she grabbed it from where it had fallen. The torn canvas, she ripped a piece free with shaking hands. In the wagon bed, overlooked in their hurry, a dented tin cup. That was all. That would have to be enough. The contractions were coming faster now, barely a minute between them. Sarah bit down on a strip of canvas and pushed. Her body knew what to do, even if her mind was screaming in terror. She pushed and pushed and pushed, feeling like she was being ripped in half from the inside out. And then a cry, thin and reedy, but unmistakably alive. Sarah's hands shook as she reached down and pulled the baby free, still connected by the cord. A boy, tiny and perfect and screaming his fury at the world. His skin was pale, smeared with blood, and vernix, his little fists waving. "Hello," she whispered and started to cry. "Hello, my son." She didn't know the proper way to cut the cord. She said a prayer, used the knife, tied it off with shaking hands. The baby kept crying. Good. That was good. That meant his lungs worked. She wrapped him in the torn canvas and laid him carefully in the wagon bed. "I'm not done yet," she told him. "Your brother's coming. Hold on." The second birth came faster. She barely had time to brace herself before her body was pushing again, expelling the second twin with almost violent speed. Another boy. Smaller than the first, but crying just as loud, just as fierce. 2 sons, 2 beautiful, perfect sons. Sarah cut the second cord, tied it, wrapped him, laid him beside his brother in the wagon. Then she collapsed against the wheel, breathing hard, feeling the blood continue to flow. Too much blood. She knew it. She'd known it from the start, but she'd done it. Against every odd, every cruelty, every abandonment, she'd brought them into this world alive. "You're going to be fine," she told them, though her voice was fading. "Someone will find you. A wagon train will come through. Someone good will find you and take care of you." She knew she was lying. She knew no one was coming, but she needed them to hear her voice. She needed them to know, even if they'd never remember, that their mother had loved them, that she'd wanted them, that they weren't a curse, they were a blessing, and anyone who couldn't see that was blind and broken and wrong. "Your names," she whispered. "You need names." She'd thought about this during the pregnancy. Jeremiah had forbidden her from choosing names. "Bad luck before they're born," he'd said, but she'd thought about it anyway in the quiet moments. "James," she said, touching the first baby's head, "after my father, and Thomas after my brother." James and Thomas, good names, strong names. The babies were quieting now, exhausted from the trauma of birth. They lay side by side, their tiny bodies touching, already seeking comfort from each other. Sarah wanted to hold them, wanted to press them against her chest and feel their heartbeats, but her arms wouldn't move anymore. The strength was leaving her body like water draining from a cracked vessel. Her vision was darkening at the edges. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I couldn't do better." The sun was lower now, late afternoon sliding toward evening. The shadows were growing longer. In a few hours it would be dark. And the desert at night was cold, killing cold for newborns, with no one to warm them. Sarah closed her eyes. Maybe it was better this way. Maybe it was merciful. They wouldn't suffer long. They wouldn't remember being abandoned. They'd simply slip away together, and wherever they went next, they'd be together. She could at least give them that. She was drifting, consciousness fading in and out like ocean waves. At some point she became aware that the babies were crying again. Hungry cries, distressed cries. She wanted to help them, but her body wouldn't respond anymore. She was separate from it now, floating somewhere above the pain. "I'm sorry," she tried to say again, but no sound came out. Then footsteps. At first she thought she was hallucinating. The mind did strange things when death was close, but the footsteps continued steady, deliberate, coming closer, not the sound of boots. Something softer. Moccasins. Sarah forced her eyes open. A figure stood silhouetted against the setting sun. Tall, broad-shouldered, long black hair hanging loose. As her vision focused, she could make out more details: buckskin clothing, a knife at his belt, a bow slung across his back, dark eyes studying her with an expression she couldn't read. Sioux. She'd seen them from a distance during the journey west, watching wagon trains from ridgelines, never approaching. The settlers had warned about them constantly. "Savages," they'd said. "Bloodthirsty, they'll kill you as soon as look at you." This was how she would die then, not from blood loss, but from a blade. Maybe it was fitting, poetic even, abandoned by civilized people, killed by the ones they deemed uncivilized. At least it would be fast. The man moved closer, knelt beside her. He was younger than she'd first thought, maybe 30, with strong features and a scar across his left cheekbone. His eyes moved from her face to the babies in the wagon, then back to her face. He said something in his own language. The words were liquid and musical, nothing like English. Sarah tried to speak, but only managed a weak sound. The man's expression shifted, not to cruelty, she'd been braced for that, but to something else, something that looked almost like sadness. He spoke again, slower this time, and gestured to the babies. A question in his tone. "Mine," Sarah managed to whisper. "My sons." He studied her for a long moment. Then he looked at the blood-soaked ground, the torn canvas, the broken wagon. His jaw tightened. When he spoke this time, it was in heavily accented English. "Husband." Sarah's laugh came out bitter and broken. "Gone, left me." Something flickered in the man's dark eyes. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. He'd seen this kind of cruelty before. He stood and walked to the wagon. Sarah's heart seized. Was he going to take them? Hurt them? She tried to move to stop him, but her body was useless. But the man simply looked down at the twins, his expression softening. He reached out with one finger and touched James's tiny hand. The baby's fist closed around his finger reflexively. The man said something quiet in his own language. Then he turned back to Sarah. "You die soon," he said bluntly. "Lose too much blood." "I know," she whispered. "Babies die too. Cold night come. No milk, no warmth." "I know," she repeated. Tears slid down her temples into her hair. The man was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that changed everything. "No one should die alone with children in her arms." Sarah's breath caught. "What?" He moved back to her side and knelt again. This time, when he spoke, she could hear the weight of some old grief in his voice. "My wife, she die giving birth. I was hunting. Come back too late. She die alone. Baby die. I never forgive myself." "I'm sorry," Sarah whispered. He shook his head. "I cannot bring them back, but I can stop this." "Stop what? You dying alone, babies dying, this." He gestured at the whole terrible scene. "This is wrong. Your people wrong. My people would never do this." Sarah's vision was fading again. She fought to stay conscious. "What are you saying?" "I take you," he said simply. "I take babies. My camp not far. We have medicine woman. She help you." "Why?" The word came out barely audible. "Why would you help me? Your people and mine. Your people kill mine." He interrupted, his voice hard. "Take our land, break treaty, hunt us like animals. Yes, this is truth." He paused. "But you are not your people. You are woman alone in desert, with babies like my wife, like what my wife was." "They might not want me," Sarah whispered. "Your people." "Maybe," he acknowledged. "Maybe they say leave you, but I am Chatan, son of chief. I say we try." His dark eyes held hers. "I say you deserve chance." "Chatan," Sarah repeated. The name felt strange on her tongue. "Means hawk," he said. "My father say I see far, see truth." He stood. "Can you ride?" Sarah tried to laugh, but it came out as a sob. "I can't even stand." "Then I carry you." He moved with swift efficiency after that, wrapped the babies securely in the canvas, fashioning a kind of sling that would hold them against his chest. Sarah watched through dimming vision, expecting at any moment to wake and find this was a dying hallucination. But his hands were real, careful and competent as he secured the babies. Then he turned to her. "This will hurt," he warned. He wasn't wrong. When he lifted her, pain exploded through her body like lightning. She couldn't stop the scream, but Chatan didn't falter. He held her steady, adjusted his grip, and began to walk. "Stay awake," he commanded. "Talk to me. Tell me your name." "Sarah," she managed. "Sarah Reynolds." "Sarah." He repeated his pronunciation, making it sound different, softer. You have warrior spirit, Sarah. You birth 2 babies alone in desert. You live when others would die. You keep living now. You hear me? Trying, she whispered. Try harder, he said, but there was no cruelty in it, just firm insistence. Your babies need mother. You don't get to die yet. The walk felt both infinite and impossibly short. Sarah drifted in and out, aware of movement of the baby's small sounds against Chatan's chest, of his steady pace across the desert floor. At some point the sun set and cold rushed in. She felt Chatan stop, felt him arrange something, his own shirt, over her shoulders for warmth. Not far now, he said. Stay with me, Sarah. She tried. She really tried. But the darkness was so heavy, and she was so tired. The last thing she was aware of before consciousness finally slipped away was Chatan's voice calling out in his own language, urgent and commanding. And then lights. Firelight. Voices speaking rapidly in words she didn't understand. And one voice, female and old and steady, saying something that made Chatan respond with what sounded like both defiance and hope. Then nothing. When Sarah next opened her eyes, she didn't know if minutes or hours or days had passed. She was lying on something soft furs, she realized. A hide structure arched above her. Smoke rose from a fire pit in the center. The air smelled of sage and something medicinal. She turned her head slowly. A woman sat beside her, ancient, with long gray braids and a face carved with wrinkles. She was grinding something in a bowl, her movements practiced and sure. The woman noticed Sarah's eyes opening. She spoke in Sioux, her tone matter-of-fact. I don't understand, Sarah whispered. The old woman paused, then switched to broken English. You live. Surprising. You lose much blood. Very much. But you are strong. Stubborn. She almost smiled. Like mule. My babies, Sarah said urgently, trying to sit up. The woman pushed her back down with surprising strength. Babies good. Chatan take them to nursing mother. 2 Clouds woman. She feed them now. Her own baby 6 months. She have enough milk. Tears spilled down Sarah's face. They're alive. Yes, crying much. Hungry always, like all babies. The woman returned to her grinding. I am a pony, medicine woman. I make you well, if you want to be well. I want to live, Sarah said fiercely. Good, a pony replied, because I work very hard to keep you alive. Would be annoying if you die now. Despite everything, Sarah felt a weak laugh escape. Thank you. Don't thank yet, a pony said. Many people in camp are angry Chatan bring you here. Say you are enemy. Say white woman bring trouble. She paused in her grinding and looked at Sarah directly. They are not wrong. I won't cause trouble, Sarah said quickly. I'll leave as soon as I can. I'll take my babies and go where? A pony interrupted. Back to people who left you to die. You think they want you now. Sarah fell silent. She had no answer. You rest now, a pony said. Drink this. She offered a bowl of something that smelled bitter. Help you make new blood. Help you heal. Sarah drank. It tasted worse than it smelled, but she finished it all. Sleep, a pony commanded. Tomorrow you worry. Tonight you heal. Sarah's eyes were already closing, but before sleep took her, she whispered, Why did he save me, Chatan? A pony was quiet for a long moment. Then, because he knows what it is to lose everything, and maybe he thinks saving you will save something in himself too. Sarah wanted to ask what she meant, but sleep was already pulling her under. This time when she surrendered to it, there was no fear, no certainty of death, just the crackling of the fire, the smell of sage, and the distant sound of her babies, crying alive, alive, alive. Sarah woke to the sound of children laughing. For a moment, suspended between sleep and consciousness, she thought she was back in Ohio, back before the fever took her parents and brother back, when laughter was something ordinary. Then pain flared through her body, duller than before, but still present, and memory crashed back. The desert, the abandonment, the birth. Chatan. She opened her eyes to find morning light filtering through the hide walls of the lodge. The fire had burned down to embers. A pony was gone, but someone had left a bowl of something beside her broth, maybe still steaming. Sarah pushed herself up on one elbow, biting back a gasp. Her body felt like it had been trampled by horses. But she was alive. That fact still seemed impossible. The laughter came again from outside, high and carefree. Sarah had heard children laugh in wagon trains, but never like this, never with such complete abandon. She thought of her sons, and sudden panic seized her chest. "James," she whispered. "Thomas." The hide flap opened and a pony entered carrying a bundle of cloth. She took one look at Sarah's face and said, "Your babies are fine. Stop looking like frightened rabbit. I need to see them. You need to drink broth first. Build strength." A pony undone the cloth and picked up the bowl, holding it out. "Drink. Then I help you walk outside." Sarah's hands shook as she took the bowl, but she drank obediently. The broth was rich and savory, flavored with herbs she didn't recognize. It warmed her from the inside out. "What day is it?" she asked between sips. "Third day since Chatan bring you," a pony replied. "You sleep much, wake sometimes, drink sleep again. Body needs rest to heal." 3 days. Sarah had lost 3 days. "My sons are fat and healthy," a pony interrupted. "2 clouds woman, feed them well. They cry, they eat, they sleep, like all babies. Stop worrying." But Sarah couldn't stop. 3 days her babies had been in the world, and she'd barely been conscious for any of it. What kind of mother was she? A pony seemed to read her thoughts. "You almost died bringing them to life. Now you heal so you can raise them. This is how it works. You think you are first woman to need help after hard birth. No, but nothing. Drink more." Sarah drank until the bowl was empty. Then a pony helped her stand, supporting her weight as Sarah's legs trembled with the effort. Together they walked slowly to the lodge entrance. "People outside," a pony warned. "They will stare. Ignore them." She pushed aside the hide flap. Sunlight hit Sarah's eyes and she squinted against the brightness. As her vision adjusted, she found herself looking at a Sioux camp, spread across a small valley, maybe 20 lodges, arranged in a loose circle, smoke rising from fire pits, horses grazing beyond, and people, dozens of them going about morning tasks, all of whom stopped what they were doing to stare at her. Sarah felt the weight of their gazes like physical pressure. Women paused in their work. Children stopped playing. Men looked up from repairing arrows or tending to horses. The silence was absolute. "Walk," a pony commanded quietly. "Keep head up. Show no fear." Sarah forced herself to move forward one painful step at a time. She kept her eyes forward, trying not to flinch under the scrutiny. Some faces showed curiosity, others showed open hostility. A few remained carefully blank. Then a little girl, maybe 5 years old, broke from her mother's side and ran toward them. The mother called out sharply, but the girl ignored her, stopping directly in front of Sarah and staring up with huge, dark eyes. "You, the white woman," the girl said in careful English. "Chatan says you birth babies in desert alone." Sarah nodded, not trusting her voice. "That very brave," the girl announced. Then she turned and ran back to her mother, leaving Sarah blinking in surprise. A pony made a sound that might have been approval. "Winona speaks truth. Children often do." She guided Sarah toward another lodge. "Come, your baby's inside." The walk felt like miles, though it was only yards. By the time they reached the lodge, Sarah was shaking with effort. A pony pushed aside the entrance flap and helped her inside. A young woman sat by the fire, a baby nursing at her breast. 2 more babies lay sleeping on a fur beside her, wrapped tightly in soft leather. Sarah's breath caught. "James," she whispered. "Thomas." The young woman 2 clouds. Sarah assumed, looked up and smiled. She said something in Sioux, her voice warm. "She says your sons are good babies," a pony translated. "Strong lungs, strong appetite. They will grow big." Sarah sank to her knees beside the sleeping twins, tears streaming down her face. 3 days old. They'd changed already, faces less red and wrinkled bodies filling out. They lay facing each other, one tiny hand from each touching the other's chest, as though even in sleep they needed to confirm their twins' presence. "Can I?" Sarah's voice broke. "Can I hold them?" Two Clouds said something and gestured for Sarah to sit beside her. She carefully lifted one of the sleeping babies and placed him in Sarah's arms. The weight of him, solid, warm, real, made Sarah sob. She pulled him close, breathing in his scent, feeling his tiny chest rise and fall. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused and dark blue, and for a moment they seemed to look right at her. "Hello," she whispered. "Hello, my son. I'm your mother. I'm here now. I'm here." Two Clouds lifted the second baby and laid him in Sarah's other arm. Now both twins rested against her, their small bodies warm and perfect. Sarah bent her head over them, letting tears fall into their dark hair. "Thank you," she said to Two Clouds, not knowing if the woman understood. "Thank you for keeping them alive." Two Clouds smiled and said something that sounded gentle. A pony who had settled by the fire translated, "She says they are easy babies. Her own son is more trouble." She nodded toward the infant still nursing. "Always hungry, that one. Your two, they sleep well, cry only when hungry or wet. Good temperament." Sarah couldn't stop touching them, their soft cheeks, their perfect tiny fingers, the dark fuzz on their heads. "They look different than I expected," she admitted. "Their hair is so dark." "Like their father?" a pony asked neutrally. Sarah shook her head. "Jeremiah's hair was light brown, mine is blonde." She studied her son's features. "Maybe they'll lighten as they grow. Or maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they'd carry the darkness of the desert, where they were born of the people who'd saved them when their own blood had left them to die." The lodge flap opened and Chatan entered, stopping short when he saw Sarah holding the babies. His expression flickered with something too quick to read. "You are awake," he said. "Thanks to you," Sarah replied. "I owe you my life, my sons' lives." Chatan shook his head. "You owe me nothing. Any decent person would have done same." "But you did it," Sarah insisted. "When my own people," her voice broke. "You didn't have to. Your people have every reason to hate mine, but you saved me anyway." Chatan was quiet for a moment. Then he moved closer and crouched beside her, looking at the twins. "They are strong," he said. "Good lungs. Two Clouds says they eat well." "I heard." Sarah looked at him directly. "Why did you really save me? You said your wife, but there's more, isn't there?" His jaw tightened. "Does it matter?" "Yes." Chatan stared at the babies for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. 3 winters ago, soldiers came to our camp. We had treaty. We were peaceful, but they came anyway, said we were on wrong land, said we had to move. His hands clenched into fists. "My wife, Dakota, she was heavy with child. Due any day. I told soldiers this, begged them for time." Sarah's heart sank, already knowing how this story ended. "They gave us 2 days to pack everything and leave," Chatan continued. 2 days in middle of winter. Dakota went into labor during the journey. We tried to stop to make shelter, but soldiers said no. Keep moving or they shoot us. His voice went flat. She died on the frozen ground. Baby died before taking first breath. Soldiers did not stop, did not care. "I'm so sorry," Sarah whispered. "White man's sorrow does not bring them back," Chatan said, but there was no heat in it, just exhaustion. "I hated after that, hated all white faces, wanted to kill every soldier, every settler I saw." He finally looked at Sarah. "But hatred is poison. My mother said this, my father said this. It eats you from inside." "So you saved me to fight the hatred," Sarah said softly. "Maybe," Chatan admitted. "Or maybe I saved you because I could not save Dakota. Maybe I am selfish, trying to fix past by changing present." He reached out and touched James's tiny hand, much as he had in the desert. Maybe does not matter why. Only matters that you are alive, that they are alive. The baby in Sarah's right arm, Thomas, began to fuss, his face scrunching up in the way that signaled an incoming cry. Two Clouds said something and gestured. He is hungry, a pony translated. She will feed him. Sarah reluctantly handed Thomas over. Two Clouds settled him at her other breast, and he latched on immediately, his little fists waving. Your milk will come soon, a pony told Sarah. Few more days. Body needs to heal first. Until then, Two Clouds feed them. Sarah nodded, holding James closer. The baby was awake now, staring at nothing in particular with that unfocused newborn gaze. She touched his nose, his cheeks, memorizing every detail. I need to name them properly, she said. James and Thomas. Those were just what came to me in the moment, but they deserve names that mean something. White names or Sioux names? Chatan asked. Sarah looked up, surprised. I hadn't thought about Sioux names. They were born in this land, Chatan said. Saved by this people. Maybe they should have names from both worlds. Your people wouldn't mind. Chatan glanced at a pony who made a non-committal sound. Some would mind, he admitted. Some say you are enemy, that I was foolish to bring you here, but some say, he paused, some say maybe this is sign, that new life coming from old hatred means something. What do you think? Sarah asked. I think they are babies, Chatan said simply. They did not choose their blood or their birth. They are innocent. That matters. James began to fuss, then his little mouth opening in hunger. Sarah looked helplessly at Two Clouds, who smiled and gestured for Sarah to hand him over. Soon both twins were nursing contentedly. Come, a pony said to Sarah. You need to rest. Walking is enough for today. Sarah wanted to protest, wanted to stay with her sons, but her body was already trembling with exhaustion. A pony helped her stand and supported her back across the camp to the medicine lodge. This time, though, people still stared. Sarah met their eyes. Some looked away, others held her gaze, their expressions unreadable. One old man nodded slightly, whether in acknowledgement or approval, she couldn't tell. Inside the lodge, a pony helped Sarah lie down on the furs. You did well, she said, walking, seeing babies. Tomorrow you do more. Tomorrow can I stay with them longer? If your body allows it, yes, a pony replied. She began grinding more herbs. Two Clouds will bring them tonight for you to hold. She understands a mother needs her children close. Sarah's eyes were already closing. A pony, how long can I stay here? The old woman was quiet for a moment. That is not for me to decide. Chief Running Bear will want to speak with you soon, when you are stronger. And then we see. A pony's tone was carefully neutral. Rest now. Questions can wait. But as Sarah drifted towards sleep, one question kept circling her mind. What would happen when she was well enough to leave? She had no money, no home, no family who wanted her. Her own people had tried to kill her. Could she really stay here among the Sioux? Would they let her, and if they did, what would that mean for her sons? The next week passed in a strange rhythm. Each day Sarah grew stronger, walking a little farther, staying with the babies a little longer. Two Clouds was endlessly patient, never showing resentment at sharing her milk with twins who weren't her own. She taught Sarah words in Lakota, the proper name for the Sioux language, a pony explained, pointing to objects and speaking slowly until Sarah could repeat them. Baby, Hokshila, fire, Pita, water, Mni, mother, Ina. The children of the camp grew bold, coming to peek at the white woman and her twins. The little girl, Winona, became a regular visitor, chattering in a mix of Lakota and English about her dolls, her friends, her pony. She seemed fascinated by the twins, always wanting to touch their hands or stroke their dark hair. When they big, I teach them ride, she announced one afternoon. I am best rider, everyone say so. I believe you, Sarah said, smiling. Not all reactions were so welcoming. Some women made a point of turning away when Sarah walked past. She heard whispers she couldn't understand, but whose tone was clear enough. Once a young warrior spat on the ground near her feet before stalking away. Chatan, who'd been nearby, looked ready to follow him, but Sarah shook her head. "Don't," she said quietly. "He has a right to his anger. He has no right to disrespect a mother with newborns." Chatan replied, his voice hard. "I'm a white woman in a Sioux camp," Sarah pointed out. "I think I can handle some hostility." But Chatan's expression remained dark. "It will get worse before it gets better. When word spreads that you are here, other bands will hear. Some will say we have gone soft, some will say worse." "Then maybe I should leave," Sarah said, though the words felt like ash in her mouth. "Before I cause trouble." "Leave to where?" Chatan demanded, echoing Aponi's earlier question. "White settlements where they will ask questions, where Reynolds' family will hear you are alive." Sarah had been trying not to think about that. Somewhere out there, Jeremiah and his family believed she was dead, that the problem of the twins had been solved. "If they learned otherwise, they would take my sons," she whispered. "They'd claim them as heirs. And she swallowed hard. "They'd make sure I disappeared for good this time." Chatan studied her face. "Then you have answer. You stay here, where you are safe." "Until your people decide I'm not welcome," Sarah said. "Until the chief says I have to go." "Running Bear is wise," Chatan said. "He will see truth." But he didn't sound entirely convinced. The summons came 10 days after Sarah's arrival. Aponi woke her early before dawn and said simply, "Today you meet Chief. You will tell your story. He will decide." Sarah's hands shook as she dressed in the clean buckskin dress Aponi had provided. Her own clothes had been burned, too blood-soaked to save. The buckskin felt strange against her skin, soft and supple in a way cotton never was. "What do I say?" she asked. "Truth," Aponi replied. "Only truth. Running Bear knows when people lie. He will see through false words immediately. And if he decides I have to leave," Aponi's expression softened slightly, "then we prepare you as best we can, give you supplies, show you safe route. But Sarah," she paused, "I do not think he will send you away, not yet. He is curious. He wants to understand why Chatan saved you." "Because Chatan lost his own wife and child," Sarah said. "Maybe," Aponi agreed. "Or maybe because something is changing. Old ways ending, new ways coming. Maybe your presence here means something we do not yet understand." The meeting was held in Running Bear's lodge, the largest in the camp. Sarah entered to find several people already gathered. The chief himself, an imposing man with iron-gray hair and a face carved by years of hard living. Chatan standing to one side, and 3 other men she didn't recognize, all wearing expressions of deep skepticism. Running Bear gestured for Sarah to sit. She did, carefully keeping her back straight despite her nervousness. The chief studied her in silence for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice deep and measured. Chatan translated. "Running Bear says welcome, Sarah Reynolds. He says Chatan has told him your story, but he wishes to hear it from you. He wishes to know why white woman sits in Lakota Lodge asking for protection." Sarah took a breath. Then she told them everything: her marriage to Jeremiah, the pregnancy, the growing hostility from his family when they learned she carried twins, the decision to take her west and abandon her, the birth in the desert, Chatan finding her. She left nothing out, not the cruelty of Catherine Reynolds, not her own desperation, not the fact that Jeremiah had sat silently while they drove away and left her to die. When she finished, the lodge was quiet. One of the other men said something sharp, his tone angry. Chatan replied, his voice equally heated. Running Bear raised a hand, and both men fell silent. The chief spoke again, and Chatan translated with obvious reluctance. "Grey Wolf says you lie. He says white people do not abandon their own. He says you are spies sent to learn our camp to bring soldiers later." "I'm not lying," Sarah said, meeting Grey Wolf's hostile gaze. "And I'm not a spy. I'm just a mother trying to keep her children alive." Grey Wolf spat back a response. "He says white mothers don't care about children." Chatan translated, his voice tight. "He says white people kill Lakota children without mercy. Why should we believe you are different?" Sarah felt tears threaten but forced them back. "I can't speak for what other white people have done," she said steadily. "I can only speak for myself, and I would die before I let anyone hurt my sons. I almost did die bringing them into this world. If you don't believe me, ask a pony, ask two clouds, ask anyone who's seen me with James and Thomas." Another man spoke, older than Grey Wolf, his tone less aggressive but still doubtful. "Tall Elk asks what you will teach your sons." Chatan translated, "Will you teach them to hate Lakota? To see us as savages?" "No," Sarah said immediately. "I will teach them that the Lakota saved their lives when their own blood tried to end them. I will teach them that humanity isn't determined by skin color, that kindness and cruelty exist in all peoples." "Pretty words," Grey Wolf said in heavily accented English. "Words mean nothing. Actions matter." "Then judge me by my actions," Sarah shot back. "I could have refused to come here with Chatan. I could have screamed, fought, tried to escape, but I didn't, because I trusted him when my own people had proven untrustworthy." Running Bear spoke again, a question in his tone. "He asks what you want," Chatan said. "If we let you stay, what do you ask for?" Sarah thought carefully before answering. "Safety for my sons, a chance to raise them, to teach them and love them, and watch them grow." She paused. "And maybe a chance to learn from you, to understand this land and its people, to become someone worthy of the mercy Chatan showed me." The chief and the other men spoke among themselves for several minutes, their voices rising and falling in rapid conversation. Sarah watched Chatan's face, trying to read the discussion's direction, but his expression remained carefully neutral. Finally, Running Bear raised his hand and silence fell. He spoke directly to Sarah, his tone formal. Chatan translated, "Running Bear says this is difficult situation. Lakota people have suffered much from white people. Many here have lost family to soldiers, to settlers, to disease brought by whites. Some believe helping you betrays our dead." Sarah's heart sank. But Chatan continued, "Running Bear also says Lakota way is to value life, to protect women and children, even enemies' women and children. He says this is what separates us from those who would kill without thought." Chatan's voice softened slightly. "He says you may stay through the summer. During this time you will learn our ways. You will contribute to camp, and we will see if you are worthy of trust." "And after summer," Sarah whispered. "After summer, we decide," Chatan said. "If you have proven yourself, you may stay longer. If not," he shrugged, "we will help you find new place, but you will not go back to desert alone." It wasn't a complete acceptance, but it was a chance. "Thank you," Sarah said to Running Bear, then repeated it in halting Lakota. "Filamayaye." The chief's expression softened almost imperceptibly. He nodded once, then gestured dismissal. Outside the lodge, Sarah found her legs were shaking. Chatan steadied her with a hand on her elbow. "You did well," he said quietly. "You spoke truth with strength. Running Bear respects that." "But Grey Wolf doesn't," Sarah pointed out. "Grey Wolf lost his entire family to cavalry massacre," Chatan replied. "His wife, his children, his parents, all killed. He has earned right to his hatred." "I understand that," Sarah said. "But it doesn't change the fact that he sees me as the enemy." "Then prove him wrong," Chatan said simply. "You have summer to show him, to show everyone who you really are." Sarah looked across the camp toward Two Clouds Lodge where her sons were sleeping. "I will," she promised. "Whatever it takes, I'll prove I belong here. For James and Thomas. For them, I'll do anything." She didn't know it yet, but those words would be tested sooner than she imagined. Because 3 days later a scout came racing into camp with news that made everyone stop and listen. White riders had been spotted in the eastern valleys, 3 of them well-armed, searching methodically through every canyon and wash, hunting for something or someone. The scout's name was Swift Arrow, and he spoke rapidly to Running Bear while the entire camp gathered in tense silence. Sarah stood near a pony, holding James while Two Clouds carried Thomas. She didn't need translation to understand the urgency in Swift Arrow's voice or the way every warrior's hand moved instinctively toward their weapons. Chatan was already moving toward them before Running Bear finished speaking. His face was grim. 3 white men, he said to Sarah without preamble. 2 days' ride east. They carry rifles, good horses. They ask about white woman twin babies. Sarah's blood turned to ice. The Reynolds family. You are certain? Who else would be looking? Sarah's arms tightened around James protectively. They think I'm dead. But if there were witnesses, if someone saw you carrying me away— No one saw, Chatan interrupted. Desert was empty. But maybe they found wagon, found blood, started asking questions in settlements. A pony said something sharp in Lakota. Chatan responded, his tone equally hard. The old medicine woman turned to Sarah. Camp must move, she said. Cannot stay here. If they find us, they bring more men. Soldiers, maybe. This place no longer safe. Because of me, Sarah whispered. This is my fault. Fault does not matter, a pony replied. Only survival matters. Come, we pack. The next hours were controlled chaos. Sarah had never seen people move so efficiently. Within minutes, women were dismantling lodges, packing supplies onto travois, securing children. Men gathered horses, checked weapons, scouted routes. The entire camp transformed from settled home to mobile force with breathtaking speed. Two Clouds appeared beside Sarah, speaking rapidly and gesturing. When Sarah looked confused, Winona translated her young face, unusually serious. She says you ride with her. She carry Thomas, you carry James. Her husband will lead your horse. You must hold on tight, not fall. I've never ridden before, Sarah admitted. Winona's eyes went wide. Never, not even once. There wasn't much call for it in Ohio. The little girl ran off, returning moments later with Chatan. He assessed Sarah with a quick measuring look. You ride with me then, he decided. Two Clouds will take both babies. I will keep you on horse. I don't want to slow you down, Sarah protested. You will slow us more if you fall and break bones, Chatan said bluntly. Come, we leave soon. He brought a sturdy mare, helped Sarah mount despite her body's protests. Every movement pulled at muscles still healing from childbirth. Chatan swung up behind her, his arms coming around to hold the reins. Lean back, he instructed. Let me balance for both of us. If you feel yourself falling, grab horse's mane. Do not panic. I'll try, Sarah said, though her heart was already racing. Running Bear called out a command. The camp began to move, a long line of people and horses heading north into the foothills. Sarah twisted to look back at the valley that had been her refuge for 2 weeks, watching it disappear behind them. Where are we going? She asked Chatan. Higher ground, he replied, into mountains where horses leave less trail, then west to sacred waters. What's that? Old place, holy place, hidden valley with hot springs. Your people don't know about it. His voice hardened. Most Lakota don't know about it. Only Running Bear's band uses it. Very sacred, very secret. And you're taking me there, Sarah said quietly, understanding the significance. If you betray this place, Chatan began. I won't. Sarah interrupted. I swear it. On my son's lives, I will never tell anyone. He was quiet for a moment. Then, I believe you, but others may not. Grey Wolf especially will watch. One wrong word, one suspicious action. I understand. They rode through the afternoon, the terrain growing steadily rougher. Sarah's body screamed in protest, but she bit her lip and stayed silent. Around her, the Lakota moved with practiced ease, even the children sitting their horses confidently. She saw Two Clouds ahead, both twins secured in a carrier against her chest. sleeping peacefully despite the jostling. As evening approached, Swift Arrow appeared beside Running Bear, speaking urgently. The chief raised his hand and the entire group halted. Chatan tensed behind Sarah. "What's wrong?" she whispered. "Bad. Scout found tracks. The 3 white men, they turned north this morning, following same direction." Sarah's stomach dropped. How could they know which way we went?" "Maybe they don't," Chatan said. "Maybe just luck, or maybe—" He stopped. "Maybe what? Maybe they have tracker, someone who knows how to read land." Running Bear called out orders. Half the warriors split off, riding hard in different directions, creating false trails, Sarah realized, leading the pursuers away from the main group. "What if they catch them?" she asked. "They won't be caught," Chatan said with quiet confidence. "They are best riders, best at hiding tracks. They will lead white men in circles until dark, then disappear." But Sarah heard the tension in his voice. He wasn't as certain as he pretended. They rode into the night, stopping only when darkness made the mountain path too dangerous. No fires were lit. People ate cold food, spoke in whispers, kept children quiet with stern looks and gentle hands. Sarah sat with her back against a boulder, James and Thomas sleeping against her chest. Her whole body ached, but she couldn't rest. Every sound made her jump. Was that hoofbeats? Voices, rifles being cocked. Chatan appeared out of the darkness and settled beside her. "You should sleep." "Can't," Sarah admitted. "Every time I close my eyes, I see them, Marcus and his brothers." Sarah Reynolds with that look on her face like I was something dirty to be disposed of. "If they come, they will not take your sons," Chatan said firmly. "I promise you this." "You can't promise that," Sarah said. "They have guns. They have law on their side. White man's law. If it comes to fighting, then we fight," Chatan interrupted. "You think we fear white men with rifles. We have survived worse. We will survive this." Sarah wanted to believe him, but she'd seen what white men could do when they wanted something badly enough. She'd witnessed their casual cruelty, their certainty that they had the right to take anything they desired. "Why do they even want the twins?" she whispered. Catherine called them a curse, said 2 heirs would split the inheritance, so why come after them? "Because they changed their minds," Chatan said. "Or because they fear someone will find out what they did. Better to have living heirs they control than dead ones that cause questions. And me, you are witness to their crime. You cannot be allowed to live." The blunt words hit Sarah like a physical blow. She'd known it, of course, had understood it on some level since the moment she saw the rider's tracks. But hearing it said aloud made it real in a way it hadn't been before. "Then I've brought death to your people," she said. "Grey Wolf was right. I'm a danger. Maybe I should..." "Should what?" Chatan demanded. "Surrender yourself. Give them what they want. That is not Lakota way. That is not your way either, I think. You did not birth 2 babies alone in desert by being coward." "I'm not being a coward," Sarah protested. "I'm trying to protect your people. They've done so much for me. I can't let them die because—" "No one dies," Chatan said firmly. "Not you, not your sons, not my people. We are Lakota. We know these mountains like white men know their town streets. We know every cave, every hidden path. They will not find us." "You sound very sure." "I am sure because I will not let them take you." His voice dropped. "I could not save Dakota, could not protect my child, but I can save you. I will save you." Sarah turned to look at him in the darkness. "I'm not her, Chatan. Saving me won't bring them back." "I know," he said quietly, "but maybe it helps me live with the fact that they are gone. Maybe that is selfish, but it is truth." Before Sarah could respond, a low whistle echoed through the camp. Everyone froze. The whistle came again in a specific pattern. "One of our scouts returning," Chatan murmured. He stood and moved toward Running Bear's position. Sarah waited, heart pounding, until he returned. "They lost them," he reported. "The white men made camp 5 miles east. Our warriors left clear trail heading south. If the riders follow at dawn, they will be led away from us." "And if they don't follow?" Sarah asked. Chatan didn't answer. He didn't need to. They moved again before first light pushing deeper into the mountains. The path grew treacherous, rocky, and steep, forcing them to dismount and lead the horses. Sarah carried James while Two Clouds managed Thomas. Every step was agony. Sarah's body wasn't ready for this. She was barely 2 weeks past giving birth, still bleeding, still healing. But she bit down on the inside of her cheek and kept moving. A pony appeared beside her at one point, offering a strip of dried meat. "Eat, need strength." "I'm fine," Sarah lied. "You are bleeding again," a pony said flatly. "I can see. Too much movement too soon, but cannot stop now, so eat. Keep moving. Rest when we reach sacred waters." "How much farther?" 2 days, maybe 3 if we must hide trails more. The old woman's expression softened slightly. "You are stronger than you look, white woman. Most would have collapsed by now." "I'm not most people," Sarah said. "No," a pony agreed. "You are not. This is why I think maybe you survive this. Maybe you earn place among us. But first, you must live through next 3 days." By the second day, Sarah was moving in a fog of pain and exhaustion. She carried James when she could let others carry him when she couldn't. Her body felt like it was tearing itself apart from the inside. Blood soaked through the padding a pony had given her. Her vision swam, but she kept walking. She had to keep walking, because the alternative was giving up, and that meant death for her sons. They traveled through a canyon so narrow the horses had to go single file. Water trickled down the rock walls, forming pools that reflected the strip of sky far above. It was beautiful in a harsh, alien way. Nothing like the gentle hills of Ohio, or even the flat expanse of the desert. This was old land carved by forces beyond human understanding. "Sacred waters is close," Chatan said when they stopped to rest. "One more climb, very steep, but then we are safe." "Will the riders be able to follow our trail here?" Sarah asked. "If they find canyon entrance, maybe, but entrance is hidden. Most white men ride past without seeing it." He studied her face. "You look ready to collapse." "I'm fine," Sarah insisted. "You are bleeding and in pain and exhausted," Chatan corrected. "But you are also stubborn. This is good. Stubbornness keeps people alive." The final climb was worse than Sarah had imagined. A narrow path zigzagging up the canyon wall, barely wide enough for a horse. The drop on one side was sheer and deadly. Sarah made the mistake of looking down once and nearly vomited. "Eyes forward," Chatan commanded, walking behind her. "Look at next step only. Nothing else matters." Sarah focused on putting one foot in front of the other. Step, breathe, step, breathe. James was tied securely to her chest in a carrier Two Clouds had fashioned. She could feel his small heartbeat against hers, steady and strong. That heartbeat kept her moving when her body wanted to quit. Finally, the path leveled out. Sarah stumbled forward onto flat ground and nearly wept with relief. Around her, others were emerging from the climb faces, showing their own exhaustion, and before them, cupped in the mountains like a secret, lay the sacred waters. Sarah had never seen anything like it. A small valley, maybe half a mile across, ringed by towering pines. In the center, pools of steaming water sent wisps of mist into the cool mountain air. The water was crystal clear near the edges, turning deep turquoise toward the centers. Mineral deposits had painted the rocks in shades of orange and yellow and white. "Oh," Sarah breathed. "It's beautiful." "This is why we fight," Chatan said quietly beside her. "This is what we protect. Not just land, but places like this. Sacred places where our ancestors prayed, where we go to heal." He looked at her directly. "Your people would build hotels here, would sell tickets, would destroy it trying to own it." Sarah couldn't argue. She'd seen it happen before, seen natural wonders turned into tourist attractions, stripped of their dignity for profit. "I would never tell anyone about this place," she said. "Never." "I believe you," Chatan replied. "Now come, a pony will want to check your bleeding, and your sons need feeding." The camp was established quickly around the springs. This time, the lodges went up more permanently. They would stay here longer, Running Bear announced. Stay until they were certain the threat had passed. That night, Sarah sat in the shallows of one of the warm pools, the water soothing her battered body. A pony had examined her earlier with stern disapproval. "You tear stitches," the medicine woman had said, "bleeding too much again. You rest now, in water then sleep. No more walking for 3 days. You heal or you die, your choice." Sarah had chosen healing. Now she lay back against smooth rocks, James and Thomas, sleeping in a carrier nearby under Two Cloud's watchful eye. The warm water worked magic on her aching muscles, drawing out some of the pain. Other women came to bathe as well. Some nodded to Sarah, others pointedly ignored her. One young woman, though, came and sat nearby. She spoke in halting English. "I am Blue Sky, sister to Swift Arrow the Scout." She gestured at the twins. "Your sons, they are beautiful, strong." "Thank you," Sarah said, surprised. "My grandmother, she say you have brave spirit, that you birthed them alone in desert, no help. This is very difficult." "I didn't have much choice," Sarah admitted. Blue Sky shook her head. "Always have choice. You choose live. You choose fight. Many women would give up." She paused. "I lose my first baby. Born too early, did not breathe. I wanted to die after. But grandmother, she say no. She say we honor the dead by living well, by being strong." She looked at Sarah directly. "You do this. You honor your sons by being strong." "I'm trying," Sarah whispered to. "That is enough," Blue Sky said simply. "Trying is always enough." Over the next days, Sarah focused on healing. A pony checked her wounds daily, applying poultices that smelled terrible but worked. The bleeding slowed, then stopped. Her milk finally came in, and for the first time she was able to feed her sons herself. The feeling of it, of their small mouths pulling at her breast, of being able to nourish them from her own body, brought tears to her eyes. "Now you are complete mother," Two Cloud said through Winona's translation. "Before you need me, now your body knows what to do." Sarah wanted to thank her, but words felt inadequate. This woman had kept her sons alive, had nursed them as her own, had asked nothing in return. How did you thank someone for that? Two Clouds seemed to understand without words being spoken. She smiled and touched Sarah's cheek gently, then said something in Lakota. "She says you are sister now," Winona translated. "Your sons and her son are milk brothers. This makes you family." Family. The word hit Sarah like a blow. She'd been so focused on survival, on keeping James and Thomas alive, that she hadn't thought about what was happening. These people weren't just helping her, they were making her one of them. On the 5th day at Sacred Waters, Sarah was sitting with the twins in the shade of the pines when Chatan approached. His expression was serious. "We need to talk," he said. Sarah's stomach dropped. "The riders, no, not seen since we lost them." He settled on the ground across from her. "But they are still looking. Our scouts report they have gone to settlements asking questions, offering money for information about white women and babies." "How much money?" Sarah asked, though she dreaded the answer. $50. Sarah closed her eyes. $50 was a fortune to most settlers, more than a year's wages for some. Someone would talk eventually. Someone always talked. "What do we do?" she whispered. "Chatman, Running Bear calls council tonight. We'll decide if we stay or keep moving. We'll decide." He paused. "We'll decide if helping you is worth the risk. And if they decide it's not," Chatan's jaw tightened, "then I will take you and your sons myself. Find another place, another band willing to shelter you." "You'd leave your people for me?" Sarah asked, shocked. "I would leave for what is right," Chatan corrected. "Lakota way is to protect those who cannot protect themselves. If my band forgets this, then maybe they are no longer my band." "Don't," Sarah said urgently. Don't sacrifice your place here because of me, please." "That is not your choice to make," Chatan said, but his expression softened slightly. "We will see what council decides. Maybe Running Bear will surprise us." The council met after nightfall around a large fire at the center of camp. Sarah was called to stand before them, James and Thomas sleeping in her arms. Running Bear sat flanked by the other elders. Grey Wolf was there, his expression as hostile as ever. Chatan stood to Sarah's right, a silent presence of support. The chief spoke, his voice carrying across the gathered people. This time Sarah had learned enough Lakota to catch occasional words. Danger, white men, choice. Grey Wolf spoke next, his tone harsh. Sarah caught more words this time. Enemy, foolish, death. Then a pony stood. The old medicine woman spoke slowly but with absolute authority. Sarah caught the words, mother strength sacred. Finally, it was Sarah's turn. Chatan nudged her forward. "Speak," he murmured. "Tell them what is in your heart." Sarah swallowed hard. Then she began speaking slowly, in a mix of English and the Lakota she'd learned. "I know I bring danger. I know you risk much to help me and my sons. If there was another way, if I could leave and take the threat with me, I would. But there is nowhere else to go. My own people want me dead. They left me to die once. They will finish the job if they find me." She looked around at the gathered faces. "I cannot change my skin, cannot change that I was born white, but I can change who I am, who I choose to be. I choose to honor the kindness you have shown me, to learn your ways, to raise my sons to know both worlds, to build bridges instead of walls." Her voice strengthened. "I am not asking you to risk your lives for a stranger. I am asking you to let me earn the right to stay, to prove that not all white people are your enemies, that some of us can be family." The last word came out in Lakota Thakoja. Family. Silence fell. Then Running Bear stood. He walked toward Sarah slowly, his weathered face unreadable. When he reached her, he looked down at the sleeping twins. "These boys," he said in English, "what will you name them?" Sarah blinked, surprised by the question. "I, James and Thomas, after my father and brother." "White names," Running Bear said, "for boys born in Lakota land, saved by Lakota hands, fed by Lakota mother." He looked at her directly. "They should have Lakota names too, names that tell their story." Sarah's heart was pounding. "I would be honored, but I don't know your naming customs. I don't want to do it wrong." Running Bear almost smiled. "Tomorrow at sunrise we hold ceremony. We give your sons their Lakota names, names that speak of their journey, of their strength." He paused. "And if they have Lakota names given in sacred ceremony at sacred waters, then they are Lakota. And their mother—" He let the implication hang in the air. Sarah understood. If her sons were Lakota, she would be too. It was acceptance, not temporary, not conditional, real acceptance. "Thank you," she whispered. "Filamayaye." Running Bear nodded once. Then he addressed the gathered people in Lakota, his voice ringing with authority. Sarah caught enough to understand the essence. The white woman and her sons would stay. They would be protected. And anyone who harmed them would answer to him personally. Grey Wolf stood abruptly and stalked away from the fire. Several others followed him, but most remained. And on many faces, Sarah saw something she hadn't expected. Approval. That night, Sarah lay in the lodge a pony had given her sons sleeping beside her on soft furs. Tomorrow they would receive their Lakota names. Tomorrow they would become part of this world in a way that could never be undone. And somewhere out there, 3 men were still hunting them, still offering money for information, still determined to finish what they'd started in the desert. But tonight, in this hidden valley with steam rising from sacred waters and stars blazing overhead, Sarah let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, they would survive this. That maybe her sons would grow up knowing both worlds, that maybe she had finally found a place where she belonged. She pulled James and Thomas closer, feeling their warmth, their steady breathing. "Tomorrow you become someone new," she whispered to them. "Tomorrow you get names that mean something. that tell the world you survived, that you're fighters just like your mama. Outside, she could hear the low murmur of voices around the fire, the sound of people living, talking, existing, the sound of community, the sound of home. Sarah woke before dawn to find a pony already moving through the lodge, gathering items with quiet purpose. The old woman glanced at her and nodded. "Good, you are awake. Today is important day. You must prepare." "What do I need to do?" Sarah asked, sitting up carefully. The twins stirred beside her but didn't wake. "First you bathe in sacred waters, wash away old life. Then you dress in clean clothes. I make something for you." A pony held up a buckskin dress softer and more intricately decorated than the simple one Sarah had been wearing. Tiny beads formed patterns along the shoulders and hem. "Blue Sky helped me make this. She say you need proper dress for ceremony." Sarah's throat tightened. "She made this for me." "Many women help," a pony corrected. "Not just Blue Sky. They work 3 days staying up late. They want your son's naming ceremony to be done right." She paused. "Not all people accept you yet, but many do. This dress shows you are becoming part of us." Sarah touched the soft leather, feeling the hours of work that had gone into it. "I don't know what to say." "Then say nothing. Just wear it with honor." A pony moved to the twins, checking them with practiced hands. "These two, they sleep now, but soon they wake hungry. Feed them before ceremony. Ceremony is long, they must be content." Sarah bathed as the sky began to lighten, the warm water washing away more than just dirt. She thought about everything that had happened since that terrible day in the desert. 4 weeks ago she'd been dying, abandoned, certain her sons would die with her. Now she was about to watch them receive names in a Lakota ceremony in a sacred place most white people would never see. When she emerged from the water, Two Clouds was waiting with the twins. Both were awake, making small fussy sounds that would soon become full cries if they weren't fed. "They know what today is," Two Clouds said through Winona, who'd appointed herself permanent translator. "They feel the importance." Sarah nursed them one at a time while the camp came alive around her. People moved with unusual formality, their actions measured and deliberate. Even the children were quieter than usual, sensing the significance of what was about to happen. Chatan appeared as Sarah was finishing with Thomas. He wore ceremonial clothing she hadn't seen before, a shirt decorated with quillwork leather leggings, with beaded designs, a single eagle feather in his hair. "Running Bear wants to speak with you before ceremony," he said. "About the names. You should understand their meaning." Sarah handed Thomas to Two Clouds and followed Chatan to the chief's lodge. Inside, Running Bear sat beside a small fire, an older woman Sarah hadn't met before, sitting across from him. The woman's face was painted with yellow ochre, her gray hair adorned with shells and feathers. "This is Singing Moon," Chatan said. "She is Wichasha Wakang, holy woman. She will perform naming ceremony." Singing Moon studied Sarah with eyes that seemed to see straight through skin to soul. When she spoke, her voice was surprisingly strong for someone so ancient-looking. "Your sons were born in fire," she said in accented English. "Born in heat and pain and betrayal. But they survived. This tells us who they are, what they will become." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. Running Bear answered. "In Lakota, way names are not just words, they are prophecy. They tell person's destiny. Your sons' names must honor their birth story, but also point to their future." "I understand," Sarah said, though her heart was racing. This felt bigger than just a naming. This felt like her sons' entire lives were being shaped by words spoken at sunrise. "First son," Singing Moon said, pointing to James in Sarah's arms. "He came first. He opened the path for his brother. He will be called Ongleska, Spotted Eagle, the eagle who rises above storms, who sees far and guides others. He will be leader." Sarah looked down at James, at Ongleska, sleeping peacefully in her arms. A leader. Could she see that in him? Maybe. He'd been born, firstborn, fighting born, screaming his determination to live. Second son, Singing Moon continued, gesturing to Thomas in Two Cloud's arms. He followed his brother into world, but he is not less. He is the one who brings hope. He will be called Wichapihing Rising Star, the star that appears at dawn to guide travelers home. He will be healer, peacemaker. Ongleshka and Wichapihing, Sarah repeated slowly, testing the names on her tongue. Spotted Eagle and Rising Star. These names speak truth about who they are, Running Bear said. Boys born from two worlds, who will walk between both, who will rise above hatred and show new path. He looked at Sarah directly. This is great responsibility. Can you raise them to be worthy of these names? I'll do everything in my power, Sarah promised. Power is not enough, Singing Moon said sharply. You must have wisdom, must teach them both ways, White and Lakota, must help them understand they belong to both peoples, not just one. I will, Sarah said. I swear it. Singing Moon studied her for a long moment, then nodded. We will see. Words are easy, actions are hard. But today, we give them names. Tomorrow you prove you deserve to speak those names. The ceremony began as the sun touched the eastern horizon. The entire camp gathered in a circle around one of the larger springs, the steam rising like spirits in the cool morning air. Singing Moon stood at the water's edge. Running Bear beside her, Sarah stood facing them, holding both twins now, while Chatan stood at her right shoulder and a pony at her left. Singing Moon began to chant in Lakota, her voice rising and falling in patterns that seemed older than the mountains themselves. Other elders joined in their voices, blending into something that made Sarah's skin prickle with awareness. This was ancient. This was sacred. And somehow, impossibly, she was part of it. Running Bear stepped forward and took James from Sarah's arms. He held the baby up toward the rising sun and spoke in Lakota, his voice carrying across the gathered people. Sarah caught some words, born fire, survived eagle, but the full meaning escaped her. Then Singing Moon moved forward. She touched James's forehead with something that left a streak of yellow ochre. She touched his chest, his feet, his hands, all while chanting continuously. When she finished, she looked at Sarah. His Lakota name is Ongleshka, she announced in English loud enough for all to hear. Spotted Eagle, born in the desert, raised by the people, he will fly above hatred and see paths to peace. This is his destiny. Running Bear returned James to Sarah, then took Thomas. The ceremony repeated the holding up to the sun, the speaking in Lakota, Singing Moon's touch leaving yellow marks on tiny skin. His Lakota name is Wichapihing, Singing Moon declared. Rising star, born in darkness, bringing light, he will guide the lost home. This is his destiny. When Thomas was back in Sarah's arms, Singing Moon turned to her. Now we name the mother, she said. Sarah's breath caught. What? You think your sons can have Lakota names while you keep white name only? Singing Moon's eyes gleamed. No, if they are Lakota, you are Lakota. You need name that speaks your story. Running Bear stepped forward again. You were left to die. You should have died, but you refused. You fought. You survived. You brought new life in a world when death surrounded you. He paused. You are Thashinga Washte, good blanket woman, the woman who wraps her children in protection, who shields them from cold and cruelty, who makes safety where there is none. Thashinga Washte, Sarah repeated, tears streaming down her face. Good blanket woman. This is who you are now, Singing Moon said. Not Sarah Reynolds, not white settler. You are Thashinga Washte, mother of Ongleshka, and Wichapihing. You are Lakota. The gathered people began to sing a rising chorus that seemed to shake the air itself. Sarah stood there holding her sons, holding Ongleshka and Wichapihing, and felt something fundamental shift inside her. She wasn't the person who'd stepped off that wagon train 14 months ago. She wasn't even the person who'd given birth in the desert 4 weeks ago. She was someone new, someone forged in fire and pain and mercy. She was Thashinga Washte, and her sons were Lakota. The celebration that followed was unlike anything Sarah had experienced. There was food, roasted meat, and wild vegetables, and a sweet bread made with honey and berries. There was dancing, the men performing elaborate movements that told stories without words. There was music from drums and flutes that seemed to speak directly to the heart. Children ran between the adults, laughing and playing. Winona appointed herself guardian of the twins, sitting beside Sarah and shooing away anyone who got too close. "They need rest," the little girl announced importantly. "Very tired from getting big, important names." Sarah smiled despite her exhaustion. "Thank you, Winona. You're a good friend." "Best friend," Winona corrected. "When Ongleska and Wichapihing are big, I teach them everything. How to ride, how to track, how to speak properly." She wrinkled her nose. "Your Lakota is terrible, very terrible, but you try hard, so I forgive you." "That's very kind of you," Sarah said, trying not to laugh. Blue Sky approached with a bowl of stew. "You must eat. A pony says you still too thin, needs strength." Sarah accepted the bowl gratefully. As she ate, she watched the camp celebrate. Not everyone was participating. She noticed Grey Wolf and several others keeping to the edges, their expressions disapproving, but most people seemed genuinely happy. Several women came to admire the twins speaking in rapid Lakota that Sarah couldn't follow, but whose tone was clear enough. Two Clouds sat beside her after a while, her own son sleeping against her chest. She spoke in Lakota, and Winona translated. She says, "Your sons are blessed. To have names given at sacred waters by Singing Moon herself, this is very rare, very special." Winona paused, listening to Two Clouds continue. She says, "Some people worried you would not respect our ways, that you would try to make your sons only white, but now they see you accept Lakota path. This is good. This makes them trust you more." "I want to learn everything," Sarah said earnestly. "I want to do this right. For Ongleska and Wichapihing, they deserve to know both worlds." Two Clouds smiled and touched Sarah's hand, speaking again. "She says you are good mother," Winona translated, "and good mothers are valued by all people, white or Lakota. You will find your place here." As the sun climbed higher and the celebration continued, Sarah felt herself relaxing for the first time in weeks. The twins slept peacefully, full and content. The warm air carried the scent of pine and sage. Around her, people laughed and talked and lived. For just this moment, the threat of the Reynolds riders seemed far away. For just this moment, she let herself believe that maybe everything would be all right. Then Swift Arrow came running into camp, his horse lathered with sweat, his face grim. The celebration stopped instantly. Running Bear rose to his feet, his expression hardening. Swift Arrow spoke rapidly, gesturing toward the east. Sarah didn't need translation to understand the urgency in his voice. Chatan appeared at her side, his hand dropping to the knife at his belt. "The 3 riders," he said quietly. "They found the canyon. They are half a day behind us." Sarah's blood turned to ice. How did they find it?" "Someone talked," Chatan said, his voice hard. "Someone in one of the settlements told them about Hidden Valley and mountains, told them about Lakota camp." He met her eyes. "They know you are here. They are coming." Running Bear called out commands. Warriors grabbed weapons. Women began gathering children. The celebration atmosphere evaporated like morning dew under harsh sun. "What do we do?" Sarah whispered, clutching her sons. "We cannot run anymore," Chatan said. "The sacred path up to this valley, there is no other way out. We are trapped." "Then we fight," Sarah said, surprising herself with the steadiness of her voice. 3 armed men against our warriors." Chatan shook his head. "We would win, but there would be blood spilled in sacred place. This cannot happen. Sacred waters must not be defiled with violence. So what then? We just let them take my sons. No. Running Bear's voice cut through the rising panic. He stood tall, his weathered face set with determination. No one takes our people. No one defiles this sacred place. But we must be smart, not just strong. He began issuing orders. Warriors dispersed to defensive positions. Women and children were moved to the far side of the valley. Supplies were prepared for a possible siege. Sarah found herself being led to a pony's lodge. The old medicine woman was already packing herbs and medicines. "You stay here," a pony said firmly, "out of sight. If shooting starts, you protect babies with your body. Understand? I'm not hiding while others fight for me," Sarah protested. "You are mother," a pony snapped. "Your job is protect your sons. Let warriors do their job. You do yours." Before Sarah could argue further, Chatan entered. His face was painted now with streaks of red and black. He looked like what the settlers had always warned about a warrior dangerous and fierce. "I need to speak with her," he said to a pony. "Alone." The old woman studied him, then nodded and left. Chatan knelt beside Sarah, his dark eyes intense. "Listen carefully. If things go wrong, if the riders get past us, there is a small cave behind the far spring, hidden by rocks and trees. Take the twins there, hide until dark, then follow the stream north. It will lead you to another Lakota band, 3 days' travel. Tell them you are Thashinga Washte. Tell them Running Bear gave you names. They will help you." "Nothing's going to go wrong," Sarah said, but her voice shook. "Maybe not," Chatan agreed. "But if it does, promise me you will run. Promise me you will not let them take your sons." "I promise," Sarah whispered, "but Chatan, don't do anything stupid. Don't die for me." "I do not plan to die," he said. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "I have waited 3 years to find reason to live again. I do not throw that away easily." Before Sarah could respond, he was gone. The next hours were the longest of Sarah's life. She sat in the lodge, the twins sleeping peacefully, while outside she could hear preparations for battle, the sounds of weapons being checked, low voices speaking in urgent tones. At one point she heard horses, multiple horses, and her heart leaped into her throat. Then Winona burst into the lodge, her young face flushed with excitement. "They are here," she announced. "The white men, at bottom of climbing path." They shout up, demanding to speak with someone. "Who?" Sarah demanded. "Who's going down there?" Running Bear and Chatan. They go to talk. Winona's expression turned serious beyond her years. "Father says this might be only chance to stop fighting. If talking fails, then warriors must fight." Sarah wanted to go with them to face the Reynolds family herself, but she'd made a promise to a pony to Chatan to herself. Her job was to protect her sons. So she stayed in the lodge, holding Ongleska and Wichapihing close, and prayed. Time moved strangely. Minutes felt like hours. Sarah's imagination ran wild. Were they fighting? Was anyone hurt? Was Chatan safe? Finally, voices approached the lodge. Chatan entered, followed by Running Bear. Both looked grim but unharmed. "They want you," Chatan said without preamble. "The Reynolds men. They say you are their property, say the twins are their blood, and must return to family." "I'm not property," Sarah said, her voice shaking with anger. "And my sons are not going anywhere with people who left us to die." "That is what I told them," Running Bear said. "I told them you are Lakota now, that you have been named in sacred ceremony, that your sons have Lakota names and Lakota protection, that they have no claim here." "What did they say?" Sarah asked, dreading the answer. "They say they will return with soldiers," Chatan said. "Say they have legal claim to the children as heirs of Jeremiah Reynolds. Say they will bring cavalry if necessary." Sarah felt her world tilting. "Can they do that? Can they bring soldiers?" "Yes," Running Bear said heavily. "White man's law sees your sons as white, as property of Reynolds family. Soldiers will not care about Lakota names or Lakota protection. They will take the children by force. Then what do we do? Sarah's voice broke. I can't let them take my sons. I can't. Running Bear and Chatan exchanged a long look. Some unspoken communication passed between them. There may be one way, Running Bear said slowly, but it is dangerous and it requires you to be very brave. Tell me, Sarah demanded. I'll do anything. You must face them yourself, Chatan said. You must go down and speak with them. Make them understand that you and your sons are dead to them, that they can tell Jeremiah Reynolds you died in the desert exactly as planned. They'll never believe that, Sarah protested. They've seen you. They know, you saved me. They have seen Lakota warriors, Running Bear corrected. They have not seen you. You are different now. You wear Lakota dress. You have Lakota name. You speak some Lakota words. He leaned forward. You go down there not as Sarah Reynolds begging for mercy. You go down as the Shingawashte, mother of Ongleshka and Wichakpihing. You go down as Lakota woman. And you tell them Sarah Reynolds died in the desert. Because she did. Sarah stared at him, understanding slowly dawning. You want me to become someone they can't recognize, someone who doesn't exist in their world. Yes, Chatan said. You let them see that the woman they abandoned is gone. That person died in the heat and blood and betrayal. All that remains is Lakota mother protecting her sons. What if they don't accept that? What if they try to take me by force? Then we fight, Chatan said simply. But if you do this right, if you show them there is nothing left of Sarah Reynolds to take, maybe they go away. Maybe they tell Jeremiah his problem is solved, that you died, the twins died, and it is finished. And if they come back with soldiers anyway, then we will be gone, Running Bear said. We will take you north to other bands. We will move like the wind, never staying long enough to be found. Your sons will grow up Lakota, learning to live between worlds. This is not perfect solution, but it is survival. Sarah looked down at her sleeping babies, Ongleshka and Wichakpihing, Spotted Eagle and Rising Star, boys who would rise above storms and guide the lost home, boys who deserved to live free from the hatred that had tried to kill them before they even took their first breath. All right, she said, her voice steady despite her fear. I'll do it. I'll face them, but I want warriors nearby. If they try anything, warriors will be shadows in the rocks. Chatan promised. They will not see them, but they will be there. You will be safe. Sarah kissed each twin's forehead, then handed them to a pony. Take care of them if I don't come back. You come back, a pony interrupted firmly. You are Thashingawashte, good blanket woman. You protect your children. This is what you do. This is who you are. Sarah nodded, swallowing hard against the fear. Then she straightened her shoulders, adjusted the beaded buckskin dress, and followed Chatan and Running Bear out of the lodge. It was time to end this. Time to face the people who'd tried to kill her and show them that death had not taken her. It had transformed her. The descent down the narrow mountain path felt different this time. Sarah moved with deliberate slowness, each step measured and calm despite the terror churning in her stomach. Behind her she could feel the presence of Lakota warriors, hidden among the rocks. Invisible, but there. Chatan walked slightly ahead, his hand near his knife, but his posture relaxed. Running Bear moved beside her, his weathered face impassive. They'd painted her face with yellow ochre, the same marks Singing Moon had used during the naming ceremony. The beaded dress caught the afternoon light. Her blonde hair, grown longer now and braided in the Lakota style, by Blue Sky's careful hands hung down her back, wrapped with leather cord and feathers. She looked nothing like the desperate, pregnant settler woman who'd been left to die 5 weeks ago. She had to remember that. She had to believe it. As they rounded the final bend in the path, Sarah saw them. 3 men on horseback waiting at the base of the cliff. Marcus Reynolds, Jeremiah's older brother, sat in the center, She recognized the other two as hired ranch hands from the Reynolds property, Tom something and a younger man whose name she'd never learned. Marcus hadn't changed. Same hard jaw, same cold eyes, same expression of entitled arrogance. He looked at the descending group with obvious irritation. "About damn time," he called out when they were close enough. "We've been waiting over an hour." Running Bear stopped 10 feet from the horses. Sarah and Chatan stopped with him. The chief spoke in Lakota, his tone formal and commanding. "He says you are on sacred land without invitation." Chatan translated, "You must state your business and leave." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "We're looking for a white woman, blonde, early 20s. She was pregnant with twins, probably had them by now. We have reason to believe your people are hiding her." Running Bear responded in Lakota. Chatan translated, "Many people pass through these lands. We help those in need, but we have seen no white woman." "Bullshit," Marcus spat. "We talked to a trader 2 days ago. He said he saw a white woman in a Lakota camp with 2 babies. That's her. That's Sarah Reynolds." Sarah's heart pounded, but she kept her face carefully neutral. Let them look. Let them see someone they didn't recognize. "The woman you describe is dead," Chatan said flatly. "She died in the desert many weeks ago." "Then who the hell is that?" Marcus demanded, pointing at Sarah. Running Bear spoke again, gesturing to Sarah. Chatan's translation came calm and measured. "This is Thashinga Washte, mother of Ongleshka and Wichapihing. She is Lakota. She has lived among us for many seasons." Marcus stared at Sarah, his expression shifting from confusion to suspicion. "Step closer," he commanded. "Let me see your face." Sarah moved forward slowly, keeping her head high. She stopped 5 feet from Marcus's horse and met his eyes directly. Let him look. Let him search for the frightened girl he'd driven away to die. Marcus leaned forward in his saddle, studying her intently. Sarah saw the moment of doubt cross his face. The yellow ochre marks, the beaded dress, the braided hair, the straight-backed posture, none of it matched his memory of Sarah Reynolds. "You speak English?" Marcus asked her directly. Sarah responded in Lakota, keeping her voice steady. "Tokaketching he. What do you want?" Marcus looked at Chatan. "What did she say?" "She asks what you want," Chatan replied. "She does not speak much English. Only Lakota." It was a lie. Sarah understood every word Marcus spoke, but she kept her face blank, her eyes showing only polite confusion at the strange white man shouting at her. The younger ranch hand spoke up. "Could be her. Same height, similar build." "Hair's wrong," Tom said, squinting at Sarah. "Sarah Reynolds had lighter hair, yellower. This one's darker." Because it had been bleached by sun and darkened by days without washing, by smoke from lodge fires, by the oils 2 clouds used to help Sarah braid it properly. But Sarah didn't correct them. She just stood there looking every inch the Lakota woman she'd become. Marcus wasn't convinced yet. Sarah Reynolds had green eyes. What color are hers? Chatan moved slightly, placing himself between Marcus and Sarah. "You insult our women by demanding to examine them like horses. State your business or leave." "My business is finding my brother's wife and his sons," Marcus said, his voice hardening. "They're heirs to the Reynolds property. They belong with family." "Your brother's wife died in the desert," Running Bear said through Chatan. "You left her there. You wanted her dead. Why do you search for a corpse?" Marcus's face flushed. "We didn't, that's not..." He stopped, realizing his protest revealed too much. "Our family business is none of your concern. If you're hiding Sarah Reynolds, you're harboring stolen property. Those babies are Reynolds' blood." "No white woman here," Running Bear said flatly. "Only Lakota. You waste time." Sarah saw Marcus's hand move toward the rifle slung across his saddle. Immediately she heard the soft sound of arrows being knocked all around them. The Reynolds men couldn't see the warriors, but they heard. They went very still. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Chatan said quietly. "You are surrounded by warriors. You do not see them, but they see you." They have you in their sights. One wrong move and you die here." Tom's face had gone pale. "Boss, maybe we should—" "Shut up," Marcus snapped. But his hand moved away from the rifle. He stared at Sarah for a long moment, and she could see him trying to make the pieces fit, trying to reconcile the woman before him with his memory of the desperate pregnant girl they'd abandoned. Finally, he spoke again, his voice calculated and cold. "If, and I'm not saying I believe you, but if Sarah Reynolds did die in the desert, what happened to her babies? If babies were born, they died too," Chatan said. "Desert takes many lives. This is known." "Convenient," Marcus said. "Very convenient. My mother won't accept this. She'll demand proof." "Then bring your mother here to see proof," Running Bear said through Chatan. "Bring her to climb Sacred Mountain. Bring her to sacred waters. See how far she gets before our warriors stop her." It was a challenge, and Marcus knew it. Catherine Reynolds would never make the climb. She was too old, too proud, too certain of her superiority to enter Lakota lands. "We could come back with soldiers," Marcus said, but there was less certainty in his voice now. "You could try," Chatan agreed, "but these mountains are ours. We know every path, every hiding place. By the time soldiers arrive, we are gone. They search empty valleys, find nothing, waste their time and your money." Marcus's jaw clenched. He looked at Sarah one more time, really looked, and Sarah saw the moment he decided to believe the lie. Because it was easier, because it solved his problem, because somewhere deep down he'd always known what they'd done to her was murder, and finding her alive would force him to face that truth. "If Sarah Reynolds is dead," Marcus said slowly, "if the twins are dead, then my family's troubles are over. No disputed inheritance. No embarrassing questions about where Jeremiah's wife went." "Exactly," Chatan said. "Your problem is solved. But if I find out you're lying," Marcus continued, his voice dropping to a threat, "if I find out those babies survived and you're hiding them, I'll bring every soldier in Wyoming territory down on your heads." "We do not lie about sacred matters," Running Bear said with dignity. "The woman you seek is dead. Let her rest in peace." Sarah wanted to speak, wanted to scream at Marcus that she was alive, that she'd survived his cruelty, that her sons were thriving despite his family's attempts to murder them. But she stayed silent, because this was bigger than her anger. This was about Ongleshka and Wichapihing's future. This was about survival. Marcus stared at them all for another long moment. Then he wheeled his horse around. "Let's go," he said to his men. "There's nothing here." Tom and the younger ranch hand followed immediately, clearly relieved to be leaving. But Marcus paused at the mouth of the canyon and looked back one last time. "Tell your people to stay out of Reynolds territory," he called, "and if we hear any rumors about white babies in Lakota camps, we'll be back." "Your threats mean nothing here," Chatan replied. "Go back to your ranch. Forget what you came looking for. It is gone." Marcus's expression flickered with something, guilt, maybe, or relief, or both, and then he spurred his horse forward. Within moments, all three riders had disappeared around the bend in the canyon. Sarah's legs nearly gave out. Chatan caught her elbow, steadying her. "You did well," he said quietly. "Very well." "They believed it," Sarah whispered, still hardly able to process what had just happened. "They actually believed it." "Marcus wanted to believe," Running Bear said. "He wanted problem to be solved. You gave him solution that lets him sleep at night. That is powerful thing." Warriors emerged from the rocks around them, lowering their bows. One of them spoke to Running Bear in rapid Lakota. The chief nodded and replied, then turned to Sarah. "They will follow the white men for 2 days. Make sure they truly leave. Make sure they do not circle back or send messages to soldiers." Sarah nodded, her mind still reeling. "What do we do now?" "Now we go back to camp," Chatan said. "You return to your sons, and we begin teaching you how to truly be Lakota, because if anyone else comes looking, the lie must hold." The climb back up seemed easier, though Sarah's legs shook with reaction. When they reached the valley, she found Blue Sky waiting with Ongleshka and Wichapihing. Both babies were crying, their small faces red and scrunched with outrage. "They feel their mother's fear," Blue Sky said, handing them over quickly. "They need you." Sarah pressed them close, breathing in their scent, feeling their warm weight against her chest. They quieted immediately, small hands grasping at her dress, tiny faces turning toward her as if making sure she was real. "I'm here," she whispered. "I'm here, my eagles, my stars. I'm here and we're safe." That night, the camp held another council. This time, even Grey Wolf attended, though he stood at the back with his arms crossed. Running Bear spoke at length with Chatan, translating the important parts for Sarah. "The threat has not ended," Chatan said. "It has only been delayed. We must be prepared to move at any time. We must be vigilant, and we must teach the Shinga Washte to truly be one of us, so that if anyone else comes looking, they see only Lakota woman." Over the next weeks, Sarah threw herself into learning everything. A pony taught her the names and uses of dozens of plants, which ones healed, which ones poisoned, which ones made dyes, and which made food. Two Clouds taught her how to prepare hides, how to make pemmican, how to pack and unpack a lodge with efficient speed. Blue Sky taught her more Lakota words, correcting her pronunciation with patient firmness. Even Winona helped, showing Sarah the proper way to make moccasins and laughing at her clumsy first attempts. "You are terrible at this," the little girl announced cheerfully, "but you get better, like me when I learned to shoot bow. First time I missed target by much distance. Now I am very good." Sarah's hands were constantly busy. When she wasn't learning new skills, she was caring for Ongleshka and Wichapihing. They were growing rapidly, their small bodies filling out their eyes, beginning to focus and track movement. Ongleshka was the more serious of the two, studying everything with intense concentration. Wichapihing smiled easily, his face lighting up whenever anyone spoke to him. "Already you see their names are true," a pony observed one morning as Sarah nursed them. "Ongleshka watches everything, learns by seeing. Wichapihing draws people to him with joy. They will be good balance for each other." "I want them to know their white heritage too," Sarah said. "I don't want them to grow up hating that part of themselves." "Then you teach them," a pony replied. "Teach them white words alongside Lakota words. Tell them white stories alongside Lakota stories. Help them understand both worlds are part of them." She paused. "But also teach them that some white people like Reynolds' family are not worthy of their time or love." "That won't be hard to teach," Sarah said bitterly. As summer deepened, Sarah noticed changes in how the camp treated her. People who'd been suspicious now nodded greetings. Women began including her in their daily tasks, without needing a pony or two Clouds to insist. Children other than Winona began approaching her, curious about the white woman who was becoming Lakota. Even Grey Wolf's hostility had cooled to wary neutrality. One evening, he approached Sarah as she sat outside her lodge, working on a pair of moccasins for the twins. "Your sons," he said abruptly in accented English. "You teach them to shoot." Sarah looked up surprised. "They're only 2 months old. When they are older, you teach them white weapons or Lakota weapons." "Both," Sarah said. "They should know both." Grey Wolf studied her for a long moment. "You are not like other white people I have known." "Most white people aren't like the ones who hurt your family," Sarah replied. "Just like most Lakota aren't like the warriors who raided settlements. People are people. Some good, some bad, most somewhere in between." "Maybe," Grey Wolf said. He didn't sound convinced, but he also didn't sound as angry. "Your sons have good names. See that you raise them to deserve those names." It was as close to acceptance as Sarah expected from him, and she took it as the gift it was. Chatan remained a constant presence, teaching Sarah to ride properly, to track game, to read the signs of changing weather. He was patient when she failed, encouraging when she succeeded, and always careful to maintain appropriate distance. Whatever had been growing between them remained unspoken, held back by mutual respect and uncertainty. One evening, as they sat watching the sunset paint the mountains in shades of gold and red, Sarah finally addressed it. "You don't have to keep watching over me," she said quietly. "I can take care of myself now." "I know," Chatan replied, "but maybe I watch over you because I want to, not because I have to." Sarah's breath caught. "Chatan, I am not asking for anything," he interrupted. "I know you are still healing, still becoming who you are meant to be. I just want you to know," he paused, choosing words carefully. "I want you to know that when I saved you in the desert, I thought I was fixing the past, healing old wound. But now I think maybe I was finding future instead." "I don't know what my future looks like," Sarah admitted. "Everything is so uncertain." "Then we be uncertain together," Chatan said simply. "No promises, no demands, just together." Sarah reached out and took his hand. His fingers closed around hers, warm and strong. They sat that way as darkness fell, watching stars appear one by one in the vast sky, while around them the camp settled into evening routines. By late summer, scouts brought news that a large wagon train had passed through the region, spreading word that Sarah Reynolds and her twin sons had died in the desert. Jeremiah had remarried a young woman from a wealthy family, chosen by Catherine to strengthen the Reynolds holdings. The story was complete. The lie had become truth in white society. "You are truly dead now," a pony said when Sarah heard the news. "Sarah Reynolds is gone forever. Only Thashinga Washte remains." It should have felt like loss. Instead, it felt like freedom. When autumn began to paint the aspens gold, Running Bear announced the camp would winter in a lower valley. As they prepared to leave sacred waters, Sarah stood at the edge of the hot springs one last time, remembering the terrified woman who'd arrived here months ago. That woman was gone. In her place stood someone stronger, someone who'd been forged in fire and remade by mercy. Someone who belonged to two worlds and would teach her sons to walk proudly in both. Ongleska and Wichapihing were awake in the carrier on her back, making small sounds of contentment. They would grow up knowing the names of plants in two languages. They would learn to hunt with bow and rifle. They would hear stories of both their heritages and choose for themselves what kind of men they would become. And Sarah Tashinga Washte would make sure they knew the most important truth of all, that love and courage and humanity weren't determined by the color of skin or the circumstances of birth. That family was what you chose, not just what you were born into. That survival itself was an act of defiance against those who would rather see you erased. The camp began to move, a long line of people and horses, heading toward winter grounds. Chatan appeared beside Sarah, offering his hand to help her navigate the steep path down. "Ready?" he asked. Sarah took his hand, adjusted the carrier holding her sons, and looked ahead at the path before them. It wouldn't be easy. There would be more challenges, more threats, more moments of fear and uncertainty. But she would face them as she'd faced everything else, with determination, with love, and with the knowledge that she was not alone. "Ready," she said. And together they descended from the sacred valley toward whatever future awaited them, leaving behind the woman who'd been left to die in the desert, and embracing the life that had been reborn from mercy, courage, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her sons.